Hit the record button.
Done and done.
Fantastic. Well, welcome everybody. It's February 15th. This is MVP Office Hours. So happy to have everybody joining us. This is a bi-monthly call that we hold the first and third Friday of the month. And we always kick off this call with kind of a recap of community events. We have those listed on the screen. I don't think we've had any changes since our call 2 weeks ago, but I do want to point out a couple of the links that you can see there. So SF Dreams, and then we've got a new one that's a bit.ly, and it's called OneList. And this is a community-sourced website where if you are a group leader, a WIT leader, a dev leader, or part of a community team that's putting on a community event, this is a great place to advertise and point people back to your registration pages. So we're just trying to socialize this URL and hopefully get some traffic behind it so that it is a one-stop shop for us to find in-person events or webinars or what have you. So it's all in one place. So you might take a look and check that out. A couple other links there at the top, some resources for both virtual and in-person events that are put on by Salesforce, and a combination of community-led events as well. And then there's two links at the bottom that I really find important to call out, especially to people who are new to the Salesforce ecosystem. So we've got two places where you can go and sign up. You can join a Trailblazer group. Go to that, success.salesforce.com/featured groups, and find groups that are in your area or in industries that you are working in, or nonprofit groups, or groups that are specializing in a certain cloud or feature or functionality of Salesforce. And then for those events where they're either in person or could be virtual as well, you'll want to use that bottom link, trailblazercommunitygroups.com, to actually sign up to receive the email invitations for all of those events that are posted. So take a look at those, get logged in, get signed up, and then you can also participate that way as well. All right, so let's go ahead and thank you, Dale. I haven't said this yet, but this is Jackie Travieso. Dale Ziegler is my co-pilot today, running tech for us. Awesome as always, because he can multitask where I can either talk or type. I cannot do both. It's been proven. Our next call is March 1st, which is the first Friday of March. I can't believe we're already in there. This call is simply a Q&A. It's an opportunity for everybody to raise their hand, ask questions, solicit resources, get ideas, and really allow us to help each other problem solve together. Somebody said a couple months ago, #community learner, and that's what we are. So I encourage everyone to participate, share your experiences, your input, your recommendations, or your references. I think everybody's already on mute. I don't hear any background noise, so we're good there. And you can do one of two things. You can either raise your hand in the chat, or you can simply unmute yourself if we've got some silence and just speak up. Ask that you introduce yourself so that we can start to recognize voices and names. That way, when we actually see you out there in the real world, as opposed to the virtual world, we will recognize voice and name. You can also use chat to post any kind of resources or questions, links, what have you, and then we will go ahead and share that out. It looks like everyone's got some hellos going in the chat, so it's fantastic. And then for those of you who are new or haven't participated in the last couple of months, we do have the ability to share your screen. So if there's something that you want to showcase or demo, we can definitely do that. I just like to remind everybody that we want to make sure that you're not showing confidential information or real life customer or client data. So if you've got a sandbox or a dev org, that is probably the best place to do that. All right, so with that said, for those of you, I guess, who maybe haven't been on our call in the past, I'd just like to call out that we have 3 other groups globally. So we've got, or excuse me, 2 others. We've got our US MVP Office Hours. We've got a group in EMEA that meets. Their dates are varied. We've got an APAC group who is varied as well in their dates. And then we've got Portuguese, which is the last Thursday of the month. And while they speak Portuguese, it is not required for you to be able to be bilingual. Carlos does a fantastic job of translating, and he is always looking for community members who are willing to step up, step in, and answer questions and give guidance. And he does a fantastic job of translating. So if you,
and Carlos
go
is
ahead, Jeff.
actually on right now. Carlos, if you want to unmute and just finish the pitch on that, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Carlos, tell us how your group is doing.
Hey, the group is great. Thank you, everybody. Yes, Portuguese is not required. Nobody asked me for my English when I joined this meeting here, so it's a lot of fun. Actually, we have a lot of people that don't speak Portuguese at all. Other MVPs, other non-MVPs, and people really feel like inclusive. There's a chance for people that's like a Brazilian or Spanish. They have a chance to practice their English, and it works both ways. Everybody that I know, I mean, I'm suspect to say, but Jackie, I'm sure you had fun in there, right?
Always, always. And it gives me an opportunity to use the one Portuguese word that I know, which is obrigado.
Yes, that's thank you. And yes, it's 2 weeks from, it was on the 28th, last Thursday of the month.
Great. Thank you so much, Carlos. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and open it up to questions. Marty is primed and ready to ask her first question. Marty, I'm going to unmute you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. You know how sometimes you feel like a drill where you're bored down into the details so much that your head is spinning?
Yes.
That's where I am. So I think I asked a question because this problem with this client has been going on for a while on a partner community, and we're still having the problem and they want to roll it out, and it's now the problem that we're having. This has to do with sharing settings, and it's now in the hands of Salesforce. So because they want to roll it out, I'm thinking of just creating a different user for this partner user who will be able to access only the accounts and contacts that they set up and the cases that they enter. And they want to give them access to some other cases. So I've proven already that one of the other profiles will work, but I don't want to give them access to everything. So I'm going to create another profile. So I just want to be sure, get opinions that if I create a profile and the account and contact, they don't have access. So therefore they can only see what accounts and contacts they enter. Same for cases, but could add a sharing rule, which is what I did for the partner, that gives them access to a few other cases. Is there anything else? This customer does not have roles set up. So my other thought is roles. So I'm sorry, that's a long question.
No. And I remember you talking about this a few calls ago. So I guess I didn't realize you were playing with native object or the core like Sales Cloud object.
But the problem that we're having in the partner community, to clarify, is with a custom object, and there is funky code that somebody else developed.
Oh, okay.
So to be clear, the problem that is occurring in the partner community is due to a custom object, and there's kind of funky code, and they did have a developer that they have look at it, but I don't think it's the one that actually developed this code. But whether that's causing a problem or not, I can't answer that.
Gotcha. No, what I was going to throw out there was if this all centered around account contact and case visibility, I was going to ask if you had incorporated account teams into that at all. But it sounds like that's not the direct goal. So
right. The problem that's happening is when they create a new account, it also creates a custom object, and that's what's causing the problem. But so if I just have sharing settings on the case.
Do you want it to be able to create that custom object?
Yes, that's key.
Okay.
That is what Showstopper is.
I have an idea.
Yep.
So the issue is that they can see their account, but you cannot see the related custom record.
it can't create, it is not properly creating the custom record. It's throwing an error that there's an
Oh.
cross-reference object. And it
Well,
doesn't
so when you say create, like, are you actually trying to get a process to create a record? Like,
yeah, currently the custom code on the partner community is throwing an error that it can't create because of a cross-reference ID, and it doesn't tell you which one.
That's oftentimes trying to set a record type that the profile doesn't have access to. Are you using record types on the custom object?
No.
or it's that also can be if it's a parent-child relationship, for whatever reason, the user profile doesn't have full permissions to that parent record. Not just record types, but actual detail records as well.
Right. And I've gone back.
Does it give you a record ID?
No.
Does it give you a record ID?
No. If it did, that would be nice, wouldn't it? So, and I've gone back and double checked.
Are you, in the code, are you absolutely positive nobody accidentally hard-coded an ID?
No, I'm not. And that's where some of this code is behind this is, I don't know where it is. I'm not a developer. So that's why a developer looked at it. So that's where it, as I say, that's in the Salesforce hands, and we're trying to come up with an alternative to get around that error.
But you may not be a developer, but you know what record IDs look like. Do you know where to go in the code to at least see, it could very well be, if this was developed in a sandbox or in a different environment where the record IDs aren't going to be the same from org to org, maybe somebody did accidentally hard code in a record ID.
Interesting theory.
One of the common oversights, I will say, like when you're developing record types, going back to that example in a sandbox, you'll have a process or something that whatever the ID of the record type that got created during development in sandbox will get baked into the criteria of that process builder. And then when it gets deployed to production, when you go upward, you're not going to have the same ID, and the developer that deployed in production forgot to swap out that hard ID. That's why hard coding IDs is definitely not a best practice, because it is such a common oversight.
Yeah, I always query them by developer name. What about what if it could potentially be an order of operations thing? So, for example, your custom code, whatever it is, they create the account, and then prior to whatever mechanism, if it's via an Apex sharing possibly, whatever's giving them access to that account, maybe that's firing out of order, and it's trying to create the child and associate it to the account before the user actually has access to the account. I believe that would still throw the same error. Without seeing the code, though, it's kind of hard to, it's pretty much just conjecture without being able to see the code.
I don't know where some of this code is. I've tried turning off the trigger. There are triggers for this. I've tried turning them off, and I'm still getting the error. So that's
well,
where,
if there's something creating records of the account in the account share table, I would expect that turning the trigger off you'd still see the same error, because we're still not getting that sharing across. Because one thing I've done in the past, for example, is you can totally write to these tables. So the way that record visibility actually works is, behind the scenes there's an object called for accounts I believe it's called account share. For context it's called contact share. And anybody who has visibility of a particular record, there's going to be a junction between that record and the user. So you're going to have one for account owner. In the event of a contact, you'll have one for account owner. You'll have one for account team members, anybody who's got access through the role hierarchy, anybody who's got access through a sharing rule. And this share record is going to have, it's really only got 3 fields that we care about. What is the record that we're trying to share? So that's going to be your account ID. What is the user or group ID of who you are trying to share it with? This is going to look up to either a queue, a group, or an individual user. And then you have a third field that just declares what their access level is. So if the code is directly inserting records into this table to say, okay, the user who's trying to create this account, like the system is creating the account in system mode, now we need to give the user visibility to that. But if that part is trying to fire after it's creating the custom record and trying to associate that as a child of the account, they don't have visibility yet, and you would see that error.
Yeah, so
that is a whole lot of conjecture.
yeah. Let me clarify this. I still get the error if the account and contact have already been created, and now there is a related list for the custom object, and now so everything's been created. Now they click on new on the related list, and I still get the error. And I've gone back and in a sandbox, given access to almost everything I can think of. So that's where I say it's now in the hands of Salesforce, and I'm trying to come up with a workaround that by just.
You don't think it's something as simple as that? Do they just not have? No, I was thinking if they don't have create permissions on the custom object, but that would throw a completely different error.
Yep, that they do. And
without,
I don't at all doubt it's something simple. So, all right.
Yeah, without seeing the code, it's really hard to tell.
So can we give Marty some ideas for looking at code? Because there's only so many places you can look, right? Apex triggers.
Yeah.
Process builder. I mean, if a process is using or a flow.
No.
Where else can she look that maybe she's not?
Workflow rules, profile settings, sharing rules, org-wide defaults for sharing and visibility on objects.
Okay, so then my other question is, if I have given the correct permissions on account and contact and add a sharing rule for cases, anything else I need to think about?
I'm not coming up with anything else.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right, great question. Give us a run for our money on that one. All right, thank you so much, Pete, for jumping in there. All right, I believe Joy, do you want to unmute yourself? I know you had a question about email not tracked. Let me see if I can find you in my big long list. Oh, you might not. Yeah, here you are. Here you are. I'm unmuting you.
Hello.
There we go. Thank you, Joy.
All right. This is Joy. My current endeavor today is I had a user message me, and she's like, "Why are these activities not tracked? Does this have something to do with another tool that we've implemented?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know." And so I took a look at it, and it wasn't something I'd really seen before. But and so it must have popped up, perhaps. During winter, that we had previously been using Einstein. And so I think when we turned Einstein off, that this started kind of like brought itself up. And it's the not tracked like grayed out icon in an activity, in an email activity. And I have a safe screenshot of this.
Okay. Go ahead.
If that'll help anyone.
Yeah, Dale will stop sharing his screen, and then you should be able to hit the green share button at the bottom of your screen.
Okay.
And once you move your mouse, there'll be a ribbon bar at the bottom.
All right. So can you see? I like did a copy and paste into like just a text email. But so what we're seeing is this. I don't know. This not tracked icon. Is that really small for everyone?
Yeah, we got it. We can see it.
Okay. And then what, like the help text is a recipient opted out of email tracking, or email tracking wasn't available when the email was sent. But the question is like, really, where is this coming from? How can my salespeople take advantage of it? Or is it a setting that I totally missed?
Question from Phyllis is, do you have Salesforce Inbox?
Well, I guess we have the standard inbox. We don't have Einstein any longer because Einstein used to come with inbox, and then we turned Einstein off. And then now we're with standard inbox. Does that make sense? So I guess the long answer is sort of, but yes, we have it and it's turned on. It's just a matter of why this is, these are all coming across as not tracked versus like, how would they track them then? Because I will tell you that my sales team is not sending emails from within Salesforce. They're sending them through Outlook, or they're sending them through Outreach. And so I'm assuming they're not tracked because maybe they went through Outreach, or they just weren't, they didn't have inbox open when they sent the email.
Dale, I'm going to drop, and I haven't read this yet, but I'm going to drop. Wait, am I going to do that? Here, I just found something on the same topic. I just dropped it.
And Squire just shared a link as well.
Okay. I've got multiple screens going, so hopefully.
Right? Everyone's got multiple screens going.
Yes.
Oh, I have 2 laptops going because I'm working on a government project as well with additional.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Naughty, naughty. You can't talk about that anymore. So I'll look into those links and see what I can come up with. But it's one of these things where I've been going through the release notes, and I'm just trying to make heads or tails of it. And but because I think it happened in winter 19 that this like icon was started being used.
That's what.
Yes, the link that I dropped in chat talks about this exact topic.
Okay.
And
then I will continue searching. Oh, fantastic.
I think this is a solution.
All right. All right, so that makes me feel like I'm not crazy, but I think the reason that we weren't seeing it previously was because we were using Einstein, Sales Cloud Einstein, but now we are not. And so I think that was just kind of like a gear shift for the sales team, and they're just like, wait, what's this new thing?
It looks like it has to do with something called enabled data protection and privacy in your org. Then the email will not, the tracking will not work unless you have an individual record associated with the contract. I don't understand that part, but
you lost me there too, so I'm going to have to dig a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just go in and
I appreciate it.
All right, there you go. Hopefully that solves the problem.
Yep. We'll see.
All right. Super. Thanks. All right. Let me get back to my other screen here. All right. Who else had a question? I don't see any hands up. Let me check chat. I know that
there was one that came through about record types, but I believe it was resolved. But just for the context, the question is, I have 6 different record types on Opportunity. I want to allow 2 users to create the donation record type. Everybody else should be able to view, but not create. And the solution is that you go to Profiles, and at the profile level or permission set, you can determine what record type someone can and cannot create records of, but that has nothing to do with what people can and cannot see.
This is Joanna. I'm the one who asked that question. I guess I'm still struggling with this. If there is a way I could just quickly share my screen and look through this, because I thought I did what you guys had recommended to do, and I'm still running into issues.
Go for it.
So hopefully this will be a quick fix. All right, so I'm in the profile. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'm in the profile, and then is it where I go down here to record type settings?
Yep.
Right, and so then I go to opportunities, edit, and I removed, sorry, I was logged in as somebody else testing it. So let me go back into Sandbox. So I removed it from there, and you could see that it's available, but I'm still seeing the option to create it when I log in. All right, so record type settings. And we go to opportunities. So I removed it from, is this what I have to do?
Yes.
All right, so it's not there, right? So then if I hit save, and then I log in as somebody that has this development profile, I'm still seeing it when I go into create new. So if I go in and log in as somebody and go to
Do they have any permission sets assigned?
that was gonna be my next step to look, because if I go to create a new one, I still see donation and I'm still able to continue with it.
Sometimes it's as simple as logging out and back in again. If any of that got cached, which
Okay.
even though you're in Classic, one of the big things with Lightning is Salesforce becomes very, very, very cache heavy and cache dependent.
Okay.
So turn it off and back on again. That might also do the trick if it's not already baked into a permission set.
Okay, so I'll try that, and then I'll try coming through the permission sets. I did a quick scrub, but I'll look a little bit deeper just to make sure, and I'll check somebody else with this profile and see.
Yep.
Okay.
Also, general tip, I would recommend enabling the enhanced profile editor, which is pretty much in new orgs. It's turned on by default.
Okay.
You know how profiles and permission sets have two completely different interfaces?
Mm-hmm.
I like the one for permission sets a lot better. That's the enhanced view. And I think it's under like user interface settings under setup. But then if you turn this, it's like a checkbox that you turn on, and then everything's going to look the way that permission sets do. And I find the way that it clusters everything of a particular object together, just a much easier interface to interact with.
Okay, so it's the enable enhanced profile editor you're saying? Or, okay.
Yeah, that's the one that's disabled right there. If you toggle that on, and you can always toggle it back off if you don't like it. Mm-hmm. Now, if you go to your profiles, they're going to look more like permission sets. So then you can just go to the object settings, find the object in question, and then you'll have a series of checkbox for which record types are enabled instead of that multi-select list.
Nice. Okay. Great.
And I have a confession. I have never been able to I've never gotten used to using that setup, because I feel like I want to be able to just see it all, and I want to just use my search function to find what I'm looking for, as opposed to drilling into those. So Peter, if you've got some kind of like whiz bang idea on how to do that, I'd love to hear.
For me,
what
it really was that it really bothered me that the profile and permission set interfaces were so inconsistent. So I just, when I first got started, I just, I did whatever I found in the org. And then I'm like, wait, how come sometimes it's like this and how come sometimes it's like that? And I figured out that you could toggle it on and off. And I just said, okay, well, this is the one that I'm going to be used to. But I like that all the object stuff is clustered together. I like that it doesn't break out the way that you view standard objects versus the way that you view custom objects. I like that for a specific object, you've got CRUD permissions, record types, tab visibility, and field level security all on one screen where you can just govern the whole thing at once. I also like the way that it compartmentalizes out system permissions instead of the older editor. They're all just kind of splashed all over the place. It's, if you know your way around that, stick with it. But for me, it's been so long since I stopped using it that I always fumble my way around when I'm trying to use it.
All right. Well, you've inspired me to try harder. All right.
I like consistency.
Yes. All right. Who else has a question? I'm just scrolling through. And yes, that was Pete talking. Somebody was asking. We are so appreciative of him jumping in and giving us some perspectives that I definitely don't have. All right. Erin's got her hand up. Erin, you're not muted on my side. If you've got a mute button on your side, I'm not sure. But if you are talking, we cannot hear you. All right. While I'm trying to figure out how we can get her. Oh, did I just hear you?
Are you one of the? Aaron, are you one of the dial-in users? If so, can you just put your area code in and we can unmute that one?
You have so much knowledge. I love you. 203.
And
There we go.
there we go.
Yeah, that was so smart. I did not know you could do that. Look, I did something non-Salesforce related. Thank you. All right, Aaron, the floor is all yours.
Hi, everyone. Okay, I have a very frustrating question. I have a field that is open to all profiles, right? Every profile can edit the field. But I have that field read-only on one-page layout, right? So I need a profile, one profile, to edit that field on that page layout. So I actually enhanced an existing permission set so that profile can edit that one field on that read-only page layout. For some reason, it's not working. So
Okay.
I'm curious. Go ahead.
No, go. I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off, but I think I know where this is going. Go ahead and finish.
Does permission sets supersede read-only page layouts per
Do they?
field? I thought it did.
No, it doesn't.
No,
doesn't.
Salesforce security always respects when it's comparing two different things, it's going to respect the more stringent security setting, which if your page
Okay.
layout says you can't update, that's going to override even admins. I don't think if you have the view all, modify all, if you
Yeah.
check the read only box on a page layout, you're still read only, I believe.
I have
So
a
how
really
do I
hacky
get-
workaround.
Of course. Nothing would be easy. Oh, thank you.
Oh no, it's easy.
I'm all
It's
ears.
just silly.
Okay.
So here's what you do. You create, now we have this one magic profile that needs to be able to edit this field. So we create a field that only the admin and this one magic profile can see. We put it directly below that field on the page layout, and whatever they put into that field, a simple workflow rule pushes up to the locked fields.
I guess my question
Okay.
is the business process that dictated that field being read only on the page layout. What's the need to go around that?
That page layout is shared by 3 profiles. And so we only need this one profile. So then at first I thought, okay, let me just give I have an admin page layout, right, where it's editable. So I thought that I would then give this profile, change its page layout. But then you have edit access to other fields. So basically, it's our marketing department that needs to update one lookup field on the opportunity, on this specific opportunity, and we don't want the other 2 profiles having the access to do this function. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Are there any other, when you compare what's on the page layout to the profile, and possibly even throwing in a record type dynamic, are there any other differences? Any others at all?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. We have so many fields, and we have so many page layouts that I've been going through all of it, little by little. But this is a kind of I need like a quick workaround on this.
I mean, Pete's suggestion of the workflow rule in a field update that passes it up, that'll get you the workaround. But it sounds like there's a lot of, and I think you and I have talked about this one-on-one in the past. There's a lot of refactoring that needs to happen. It sounds like in your
You're
org
absolutely right.
to get back
You're
to
absolutely
core.
right.
Yeah.
And we really have to, break it down and start rebuilding. Now, what about having the field on this page layout? Could I do this with a validation rule?
Ugh, no.
I know.
I've enforced read only via validation rules, and I strongly advise against it because of a few reasons. One, if you have any kind of automation firing off of this, how that handles the validation rule is going to be different. Are you going to end up with a gobbledygook error message? Do you have any flows that fire off? Because they hate validation rules. And then you end up this, it seems innocent, like it's starting out with just this one edge case, but then it spirals. And then the other thing is, how do you do it? Do you say, and not is changed on this field, because technically we could get around some other sneaky stuff by changing X, Y, Z, and as long as we include this field, then it's okay. And I don't suggest the validation rule approach. It creates more problems than it solves.
I'll be honest. I know you don't.
There.
I know you don't want. I know you don't want one more page layout, but if it's an entire profile that can update this field where everyone else is read only, I would say clone the page layout, make it not read only, and assign it to those profiles. It's one more page layout to manage, I know, but validation rules to me are kind of the devil, along with multi-pick lists and quick create and everything else Steve Moe preaches against. I'm kind of aligned with him on a lot of those.
I agree.
You're going to get that cleaner experience and less technical debt.
And Squire is calling out some really good things to remember. If you look in the chat, he says, don't forget that just because it's not editable via page layout, there are still other ways it can be edited, like inline editing on list views.
Yeah, page layouts.
Okay, now here's, it gets better. Our inline editing is shut down, locked down as a company. Somewhere before I got here, somebody went to Salesforce and said, lock it down. So it's locked down as a company, and more than half of our validation rules are embedded in code. So you're right about the validation rule, because I could create, and I've done this, I've either tweaked or created the validation rule and then somehow hit something that was buried in code. So I think the easiest is maybe this page layout. And you're right, Dale. I think it could be the easiest is this page layout. Creating a new one for this profile before I have the time to really just break everything down and rebuild it. It's always the little things with Salesforce that drive us crazy. It's never the big things.
Salesforce has taught me, Salesforce has taught me that everything technological is a series of single things. Like take gears in a clock. That clock doesn't run without the gears, and every gear it's a different shape. It's a different, it's round with teeth, but every gear has a different number of teeth. Every gear those teeth have different widths and lengths and all that kind of stuff. If you can understand how each individual gear works, it makes it so much easier to connect to the others. It's kind of the same analogy of if you're going to climb the mountain, you still got to start with step one down at the base. You can climb that mountain, but you're starting at the bottom no matter what. Work your way up one step.
Yeah, I agree, but I know it's a little frustrating, but thank you though. For some reason, I was really hoping that somebody would say, "Oh no, permission sets will supersede page layouts," but okay, life is Plan B.
I'm loving all of the comments in the chat. You guys are making me laugh. All right. Thank you so much for that question. All right. So, Carlos, I'm going to unmute you.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to try to make this as simple as I can because it's puzzling me. It's related to role hierarchy. Okay. Okay, so my understanding is that when you create a whole hierarchy, everybody above you, as long as they have their profile, they have access the same objects, they will be able to see the records that you own, correct?
See
Not
and edit.
necessarily.
if I can share my screen, I have a couple of slides here.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, how do I do that? Okay, share. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
So pretty much in here, users in a higher role inherit the special ownership privilege on all records owned by users in the roles below. We agree with that.
Yes.
Okay, the problem that I'm having, there's another slide here. Let me share that slide. Is when you're talking about records that for people that don't report to you, like associated records, meaning I have an account and that account has an opportunity. Somebody owns that opportunity, but that somebody does not report to me. Okay?
So, yes, but can you please be more specific that when you say report to me, are you talking from a role hierarchy standpoint or from an HR standpoint?
No, HR has nothing to do with this.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah. So, again, I have an account. Somebody has an opportunity. That person does not report to me, but his opportunity is related to my account. So there's a option that you can go in there and you make a determination of what kind of access that person, I mean, as a me being above, will have to their record, to their opportunity. Right? So let me show here. That's exactly on this screen here, where it's called the related ones. So everything that's related to that account, I might have several kinds of contact access to the contacts, to the opportunities, or the cases. Are you with me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, the problem that I'm having, because this is probably talking about related, is going to a standard, excuse me, a standard object. My question is, if I have two custom objects on a parent-child relationship, okay, one can be called vacation, is the master, and locations is the children. So I own a vacation record. Somebody else has the location, but that person does not report to me. So is that the analogy exactly what I have here on the screen? I wanted to find out how would that play? Would be pretty much OWD?
Mm-hmm. Yes, because what you're seeing here is core objects that like account teams manage. That's the only thing Salesforce can give you out of the box. Custom objects beyond that, it has no clue. So then you'd have to go into OWDs and play with controlled by parent or private and extend with sharing roles or however.
No, great. That's all that I wanted to do because, you know, I'm on the process of trying to become certified instructor for Salesforce, and believe me, they are grilling me. And my master instructor told me specifically, I'm grilling you because you're MVP. I said, I'm not an MVP. I'm just got it there. And they throw me like all the scenarios that I had to think twice before I answer anything. And I said, well, this thing here is not on this screen that I'm showing here. So OWD will pretty much play everything in there. Because if it is a standard object, if it is a standard object, yes, the roles hierarchically apply. If you report to that person, but you don't report to that person, but somehow you have association with the objects, you'll be playing OWD, nothing else.
Right. Well, and if this is also for going for any kind of an instructor certification, don't forget the differences between lookup and master detail, that you lose that owner component on the child in a master detail, and OWDs mean something even more in that case.
Come
Yeah,
again?
but in that case, you wouldn't be able. Well, in a master detail, the child does not have an owner field. The ownership is on the parent.
Right.
But in that scenario, I don't think this necessarily applies, because you would not be able to have a child with a different owner than the parent.
I'm just saying, if you're talking about the sharing with parent-child records and role hierarchies, and you're going for something instructional, remember that in case they're grilling you about absolutely everything.
Oh yeah, yes, they did, because I mean, somebody just, I think it was Peter that just mentioned about owner. You can have an account has one owner, the opportunity has another owner, and they still related to each other. But then, and that will be fine. This covered here by the screen that I have here. But then when you have a custom object, as I mentioned before, you can have a vacation object and you have a location object, and the owner doesn't necessarily need to be the same person. That was the catch in there. So I own a vacation, call it beautiful Florida, and somebody else, Dale, owns a location, call it Miami, and he does not report to me. So do I have access to that of his record? His record is a child of the object that I'm the owner here. So that the rule in there, you'll be pretty much OWD, whatever I define OWD. Is that correct?
Yeah, and anything that you can also extend that through sharing rules and manual sharing, various other things. But if you don't have any of that configured, it's going to be based off OWD.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Thank you so much.
All right, quick time check here. We've got a little less than 10 minutes, or excuse me, a little more than 10 minutes, at 47 after. Who else has a question, thought, resource, need?
Since this has come up a few times today with sharing rules and stuff, a common ask that I've had for especially higher ed clients, where you have, you know, situations where there's been an org merger, merging multiple orgs that represent different business units, and we don't want to share the records across them because we don't want people poaching each other's, you know, donor lists and whatnot. But we also have that use case of, well, if somebody calls up and I've got their phone number, or I've got their email or some other unique identifier, we don't want to create duplicate records in the system. So how do I grant myself access to that? And this is, I don't recommend this, not best practice, but I call this one leaving the key under the doormat. So what we do is I created an object called contact visibility, and it's org-wide public. And the loophole in this is that a child record, let's say that I can see a child record, but I cannot see its parent record. I can still pull things down to that child with a formula, and thus by expose data from the hidden parent onto the visible child. So we create this object, we call it contact visibility. It's in a one-to-one relationship. Every contact has one. You have to data load into it. It's a big pain. And all it has is a formula field that looks up to the parent contact's phone number and one for the email address. Then we make the user a nice little screen flow, and it says, oh, could I have your phone number? They type in the phone number. If it finds a contact visibility record, it says, oh, well, we found a record that belongs to a different business unit. Do you want to give yourself access to this? If they say yes, then the flow creates a record in the contact share table connecting your user to that record that you could not previously see. And then, you know, we end the flow by giving them a link to that contact. And it's kind of a multi-step process. It's pretty janky. And the real core of it is that it's, you know, Salesforce is extremely strict about their security, and this is the exact sort of shenanigans they don't want you pulling. So it is hard for a reason, and we have to data load into that contact share table, you know, when we get everything rolling to begin with, to figure out who can see what and everything. But there's always another way to get things done. So put this on the list of Pete's not best practice, but it does work. Leaving the key under the doormat.
Pete, I feel like you have a list of those.
Doesn't that
Oh,
massively
yeah.
violate any kind of like business process rules? Any like, I mean, it sounds like it's a conversation higher upstream than it is. Here's how you can expose it in Salesforce. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm missing something.
Well, I pushed back strongly on this requirement, and I said, well, really, don't, like one, what's the absolute way to really lock this down is, well, you could just give everybody access to all contacts, take away the ability to modify your own list views, take away the end user's ability to access reports, and then you basically that's just a horrible thing to do. And I pushed back and I said, well, really, if you can see the records, you can see the records, or if you can't see the records, you can't see the records. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You should just get your different business units to work together, sing Kumbaya, and share the contacts. And they ended up saying, no, we're going to do this. So I built them that thing. And then 3 months later, they did end up deciding to sing Kumbaya. They set it back to org-wide public, which disables the contact share table. The very next time they went to use the flow, it crashed because it couldn't write to that object. And we ended up turning the whole thing off. But yeah, I agree. This is one of those situations where when you find yourself using a quote unquote Pete's not best practice solution, you can usually find a better way to solve the problem by addressing the business problem and not the Salesforce riddle.
Yeah, because I mean, my fear would be like, let's say they didn't sing Kumbaya and you have like a PII audit. If your business process is partially protected by PII and there's a workaround that allows you to open up information more than others, it's like ripping the warranty sticker off the device.
Yeah, but I mean, the use case for this was pretty narrow. If somebody calls in and we've already got a contact record in the system, any rep, regardless of what business unit, needs to be able to get to that contact. So really the solution is you should be sharing all your contacts. And again, the thing you really got to be careful with is what are you formulating down onto there? Is it confidential information or is it just an identifier, like an email address? Because even within those different business units, they had some people could see certain information, some people could not see certain information. That's all governed over by field level security.
Lots to think about there. For sure. Thank you for sharing that. Looks like we got about 8 minutes left. Anybody have a last question to ask? Anything that they absolutely love about Spring 19?
The ability to not have the most recent list view.
Yep, the pinned list views. Yep, Joy called it out too. That's her favorite. Yes, I have taken advantage of that already.
Highlighted conditionals.
Yes, that's a good one too.
I know this is going to be super taboo, but I'm going to call out that I don't love the new Flow Designer.
I was thinking that, but I'll tell you a couple of things that I found so far that are kind of helping. Control click allows you to select multiple nodes to move them at the same time. Mm-hmm. Space, click, and drag. You know how you have to toggle between pan mode and interact mode? I hate that. You just hold down space and click and drag to move the canvas. Undo, redo, and copy paste are on the roadmap for the next release or two. Mm-hmm. I also really hate that any text, they added in all that kerning and formatting thing for anything that was just the default text font because they didn't know what you wanted your fonts to be. But copy and paste is really bothering me. I also hate the way that they rebuilt the type aheads on variables. You have to type the S object variable name, then click on it, then start typing your field name, and I'm forcing myself to adopt. But
you can't create on the fly. Like you can't create new variables, anything like that. You have to like double do the work. No copy paste, and it feels like the nomenclature was massively overhauled. You have to rethink what each piece of every node is now because they worded it completely differently. I've been building flows for like 5 years. Yeah. I've been building flows for
Oh,
5 years, and I always knew exactly what to look for in the old layout, and now it's not worded anywhere near the same that I have to rethink what this thing is trying to do.
So in your opinion, for somebody who's never used Flow before, is it logical for the person who hasn't used it?
Yes.
Or it is? Okay.
Yeah, it's like Lightning. The difference between Classic and Lightning, we all knew and loved Classic because it was well established and it had all the kinks worked out. And when you switch to Lightning, it's like, oh crap, I don't ever want to move to Lightning. But new people to Lightning, it's all they've ever known, so it's what you learn on. I'm going to throw Flow, the new Flow Designer, in that exact same analogy.
Okay, very good. Allie says, yeah, for newbies, Flow, it's much easier to understand. So that's good. That's good. And Squire is loving the joined reports.
If I can share my screen real quick, I just have a fun screenshot I want to show you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joy, to answer your question, yes, the new shared emojis is part of Spring 19. That's fun.
I mean, I will say I like that, your decision points are diamonds, just like on a flow chart. They call out a little bit better. It's the actual inner workings that are frustrating.
I miss diagonal lines too. It made all of my nice tidy flows look so jacked up.
Yeah, there's too much running
yeah.
over. I mean, if you don't space your nodes out properly in this, you're going to definitely lose where things are going because of the curvies. But
okay, so give us a little bit of a rundown for the newbies who have never used Flow before. What are we looking at?
So I'm a big fan of, I've got a lot of friends in APEC, specifically Australia, and one of them, Mark Tussle, he likes to tweet pictures of wildlife. And I'm a big fan of kangaroo. I think it's delicious. And so we have this kind of running gag where I make comments about how I would love to take a bite out of whatever wildlife he's taking a picture of. And then all of the other Australians, no, you're horrible, you're horrible. So he posts a picture of this spider the size of a fist in his bathroom. And, I comment that, look, I think this is the first time that you've posted a wildlife picture that I don't want to eat. And so people are like, well, Pete, what would you, how do you determine whether or not you will eat it? This got us as far as whether or not I'll eat it if it's a plant. So for example, my girlfriend's name is Nikki. So first, if we identify that the plant is a friend, the next thing we check is, well, does it belong to Nikki? If so, don't eat her flowers. Otherwise, no, I grew that and it's free garden food. None of these nodes actually do anything. And the illustration that I'm trying to make is that when I build flows, I don't actually hook up any of the automation first. I create a variable called nothing, and all of my assignment elements set nothing equal to nothing. And I like to architect the flow out at a high level first to kind of get it in my mind of how the process is going to flow. And then when I actually get into the granular development, I find that a lot of times, this node, well, it's actually going to be more like 4 nodes. Just, try to space things out, but get a look and feel for how it's actually going to play out. Don't just go in there and query a record and queue up 50 different fields on it, because you might find in an hour when you're a little further into the flow, you didn't need that query at all. So just a fun little screenshot.
This is great. That is awesome. All right, so I guess maybe we should all put on our 2019 list of Salesforce bucket lists is to learn how to use Flow and Flow Designer. All right, thank you very much for that that illustration and that dialogue there. I appreciate it. We are 1 minute out. I would like to just go ahead and say thank you, everyone, for joining us. We had some great participation today, really great, challenging questions. Continue to bring those to us, and we'll see how we can continue to support each other and problem solve together. Thank you, Dale, for being my co-pilot and running our tech. And Pete, thank you so much for jumping in and sharing your knowledge. And Carlos and everybody else, appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.